Welcome to Ukraine Today, your frontline source from the story that matters most. From China's unexpected bid to mediate peace while denying it supports Putin to Ukraine's navy hitting back on sea, sky and land, the tides are turning. The EU's 18th sanctions package stands as Hungary and Slovakia stand in the way and Russia's shadow still keeps moving. Meanwhile, North Korea deepened its deadly pact, sending more men and weapons to fuel Putin's war. I'm Zorislava Kolesnikova and this is Ukraine Today. Stay sharp, stay strong, stay with Ukraine. A bold move from Beijing, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi arrived in Paris offering to co-lead peace negotiations on Ukraine with France. But while calling for diplomacy, China firmly denies any support from Russia's war machine. After intense talks with the EU's new chief diplomat Kaja Kallas, Ukraine was front and center. So is China finally playing peacemaker or just playing both sides? Let's break it down.
Europe is facing various problems, but none of them are caused by China, stated Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi during a meeting with the EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaja Kallas, on the 4th of July. The statement from Beijing came after the EU's top diplomat called on companies in China to stop assisting Russia in its war against Ukraine and emphasized that this poses a threat to European security. Later, during a meeting with the French foreign minister, the Chinese diplomat stated that China is ready to strengthen strategic communication with Paris for a political resolution of Russia's war against Ukraine and emphasized that China and France should act as forces supporting stability.
China and France are permanent members of the UN Security Council and must adhere to the fundamental goals of this organization, as well as develop friendly bilateral diplomatic relations based on independence from constant external influences, and jointly make a Chinese-French contribution to peace, stability, and development. Since the beginning of the year, our dialogue has allowed us to create an atmosphere conducive to seeking constructive solutions to some of our disagreements.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the PRC reported that China continues to consider dialogue and consultations as the only way to end Russia's war against Ukraine. Earlier, French President Emmanuel Macron noted that Paris and Beijing share a common goal regarding the war in Ukraine. He stated this after a phone conversation with Chinese leader Xi Jinping.
We have the same goal regarding the war that Russia is waging against Ukraine, a lasting and strong peace. It begins with an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. Emmanuel Macron, President of France, on social network X.
Despite public calls for peace, China's relations with Russia have grown stronger since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, according to Western media. At the beginning of 2022, Beijing and Moscow signed a strategic partnership with no limits. According to US intelligence, in the spring of 2024 alone, China provided Russia with intelligence data, optics for military equipment, rocket fuel, machinery for tank production and other goods. In particular, this refers to the supply of gunpowder and artillery. In April 2025, Kyiv imposed sanctions on certain Chinese companies for allegedly supplying Russia with unmanned aerial vehicles and missile technologies. According to President Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine received information that the PRC is providing weapons to Russia. He stated that there is general information on this matter from the Security Service of Ukraine and intelligence agencies. Beijing has officially rejected the claim that it is providing military assistance to Russia.
China not only does not supply lethal weapons to either side, but also strictly controls dual-use goods that could be used for weapons production. Lin Jian, spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the PRC, commented to Chinese media. I think that China is most concerned with maintaining the status quo, preserving access to cheap Russian oil and gas. They are very eager to start using the Northern Sea route, which runs over Russia through the Arctic. As the climate continues to change, China wants to use this route. But right now, Russia controls all these territories. That's why they supply spare parts and do other things.
After the overnight attack on the 4th of July, a Chinese component was found in a Russian drone in Kyiv. This was reported by Ukraine's Deputy Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha. He also spoke about damage to the Chinese Consulate General in Odessa as a result of Russian attacks and emphasized that security in Europe, the Middle East, and the Indo-Pacific region are inextricably linked. Countering Russian aggression and terror in Europe directly contributes to strengthening security. Kristina Dombrovska for Freedom Television Channel.
They fight not only at sea but across land and sky. Ukraine's navy isn't just ship, it's elite mariners, special forces, drone operators and fast boat crews, all striking deep at Russians' positions. On Ukrainian Navy Day, we remember their boldest victories, from drone strikes on Black Sea targets to special OPC behind enemy lines. This is Ukraine's silent force and Russia's nightmare.
The Ukrainian Navy holds the line every day, defending Ukrainians from the cynical attacks of the Russian army. Among other things, the Ukrainian Navy destroys Russian drones that the Kremlin regularly launches at peaceful cities in the south of the country. Thus, the Ukrainian Navy thwarted yet another attempt by Russia to land troops on the shores of Kherson region at the end of June 2025.
Another Black Sea Fleet boat carrying troops, which was moving along the western coast of Kherson region, has been destroyed. Thank you to our naval servicemen for a job well done. Alexei Nice Papa, commander of the Ukrainian Navy, on Facebook.
The valor and honor of the Kremlin the Black Sea Fleet thus, over 3 years of full-scale war against Ukraine, become one of Moscow's greatest weaknesses.
Before Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the Russian leadership almost certainly regarded the Navy and the Black Sea Fleet as integral components of its maritime power. After 3 years of war, Russia's naval capabilities in the Black Sea have been significantly limited due to highly effective Ukrainian operations. Since the 24th of February 2022, Ukrainian forces have destroyed or damaged at least 24 Russian vessels operating in the Black Sea. In particular, the flagship of the Black Sea Fleet, the cruiser Moskva, sank. From a report by British intelligence on the social network X.
According to the Ukrainian Navy, Ukrainian forces have destroyed a third of the 80 warships of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. 27 vessels have been destroyed, including 14 warships such as large landing ships, missile boats, submarines and patrol ships. Another 15 Federation vessels are currently under repair. As a result of successful Ukrainian attacks, all of Russia's naval logistics in occupied Crimea have been destroyed. And in the Sea of Azov, there are almost no enemy combat units left. The Russian Black Sea Fleet was forced to move all its main assets from the base in Sevastopol to Novorossiysk in the eastern part of the Black Sea.
According to the UK Ministry of Defense, by March 2024, Russia's Black Sea Fleet had become functionally inactive. The Black Sea is quite important for Russia because it is used to ship oil and gas to Europe and the Middle East. However, with only a dilapidated fleet, Ukraine has essentially won the battle for the Black Sea. On the 31st of December, Ukrainians used the naval drone and Magura V5 missiles to destroy 2 Russian Mi-8 helicopters. This was the first time a naval drone had shot down a helicopter. Steve Balestrieri, a U.S. Army Special Forces officer in 1945.
Modern warfare is increasingly conducted at a distance, which is why missile and drone weaponry plays a key role. According to experts, another success of the Ukrainian Navy is that they have learned to operate in formations with their surface drones, as well as to combine attacks by surface drones and UAVs. Since the start of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine, the Security Service of Ukraine (SBU) has developed the Ukrainian multi-purpose unmanned surface vehicle Sea-Baby. Later, the Ukrainian Defense Intelligence GUR also adopted the Magura drones. Thanks to these, in 2024 and 2025, successful operations were carried out, such as the destruction of a Russian Su-30 and a Mi-8 helicopter. Thus, at the beginning of 2025, official Kyiv presented another successful Ukrainian development autonomous maritime drones called Katran. Today, these drones are being successfully used by fighters of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine to strike Russian targets.
We developed this project not as a single kamikaze vessel, as everyone imagines it. Taking into account the fact that all technologies are evolving, we envisioned this as a group of unmanned drones, each carrying different types of weaponry. These include aircraft-type weapons, missiles, FPV torpedoes, and machine guns. That's it. Each vessel performs its own specific task. These include things like airspace coverage, maritime coverage, delivering strikes, and hitting targets at a considerable distance. We have models that we can launch up to 100 kilometers away. This is how the Katran family came to be.
Engineers are constantly improving the design of the boats, changing their aerodynamics, characteristics, types of weaponry, and how it is mounted. Currently, the main distinguishing feature of the Katran drones is their long range up to 2,000 kilometers and their speed. A model like the Katran Venom can reach speeds of up to 130 kilometers per hour.
Just so you know, I'll let you in on a little secret. It was kind of an allegory. The Katran vessel was designed by the same engineer who designed the cruiser Moskva. Based on this, when he designed the Katrans, he was even surprised himself that he managed to break down the cruiser Moskva into different types. We are moving forward, we are continuing to develop, and there will be many more interesting vessels of various purposes, which, let's say, in a decentralized way, allow us to demonstrate the power of a large cruiser.
Ukrainian intelligence officers also report that the latest operation to strike Russian Su aircraft was carried out using the Katran drone. The combat experience of the Ukrainian Navy is valued around the world today. Since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2024, Ukrainian naval forces have been ensuring the security not only of Ukraine, but of the entire Black Sea region, which is vital for global food security and is also a major hub of international trade. Yulia Granovskaya for Freedom Television Channel.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now. The EU's 18th sanction package against Russia is stuck, blocked by both Hungary and Slovakia. Meanwhile, Russia's shadow fleet keeps moving, slipping past restrictions and flying in the war machine. How much longer will Europe hesitate, and who really benefits from this delay?
The phased cessation of energy imports from Russia has been postponed indefinitely. The vote was traditionally blocked by Hungary, and now Slovakia has joined as well. Bratislava is demanding guarantees from Brussels that the complete rejection of Russian gas will not harm the Slovak economy and wants an alternative, affordable fuel supplier. After all, since January, Slovakia has not been receiving Russian gas through the Ukrainian pipeline. And until it hears concrete proposals from the European Commission, it says it will block anti-Kremlin sanctions. But while Slovakia has voiced its demands, Hungary has made none. On the contrary, it intends to continue buying Russian energy resources, despite everything.
The good news is that the presidential decree in Russia has been extended, which means there is a possibility that Hungary can pay for gas through OTP Bank until October. This guarantees a safe supply of fuel in the near future. In Turkey, we are discussing the long-term provision of cheap Russian energy to Hungary. Peter Szijjártó, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Hungary.
Currently, Budapest receives gas from Russia via the Turkish gas pipeline, which runs along the bottom of the Black Sea. And Moscow, for whom energy sales make up a third of all revenues, is still trying to keep Europe hooked on its energy. Last week, Putin extended until October the permission for foreign buyers to pay for gas and oil in rubles.
Since the restrictions on Russian oil were introduced in 2023, its prices have dropped. They are now at their lowest level. We need to reduce this source of revenue.
In the 18th package of sanctions, the European Commission has delivered a powerful blow to the Russian Federation. The EU plans to completely abandon Russian energy resources within 2.5 years. This means that none of the Western companies will carry out operations related to the Nord Stream gas pipelines. Russian oil will be driven down in price from $60 per barrel to $45, and more than 70 tankers from Putin's shadow fleet will be barred from European ports. But this is not enough.
Regarding the situation in Ukraine, I once again expressed to him, Donald Trump, our firm desire that the American side should also impose additional sanctions against Russia. There will be no military solution to this conflict. We need to increase economic pressure on Moscow.
In Europe, there is confidence that it is specifically American sanctions that would push the stubborn Hungarian Orbán and the Slovak Fico to accept Brussels' proposals and agree to the 18th package of sanctions. However, Washington is currently in no hurry to announce new restrictions against Russia. They explain this by saying that they want to keep the possibility open for brokering peace between Moscow and Kyiv. At the same time, things are not so transparent in Europe either. Even Germany, whose chancellor is urging the United States to take action, continues to supply its refineries with Russian energy resources via the Federation's shadow fleet, just like Belgium, the Netherlands and Italy.
The first half of the political season in the EU is coming to an end. Summer holidays are ahead, so it's unlikely that any anti-Russian restrictions will be adopted before autumn. Reporting from Brussels, Anna Grishina, We Are Ukraine, United News Marathon.
We are now joined live by Vladislav Vlasuk. He is the president of Ukraine's Commissioner for Sanctions Policy. Greetings to you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Mr. Vladislav, do you remember last time when we discussed the prospects with you, or rather, the 18th package of sanctions, we talked about the possibility of including, for example, a lower cap on oil prices. Today, the situation has changed somewhat because now we have to talk in general about the prospects of the 18th package of sanctions, taking into account those two constants that are present in this equation. So, in your opinion, how can our European partners still manage to adopt this document? What are the forecasts here? Perhaps some advice?
The situation hasn't changed, and there's nothing irreparable about the fact that there was no agreement on the 18th package yesterday. To some extent, it was rather strange because as of the evening of the previous day, Thursday evening, there was an agreement between the European Commission and Slovakia. And it was quite a surprise when on Friday, after all, it was not adopted, not agreed upon. Again, there is no fundamental disagreement with Slovakia. Basically, they are not against the sanctions. The only thing is that, in my opinion, for some reason, they are billing the European Union for the Russian gas they didn't buy. Although, perhaps it would actually make more sense to send that bill to Russia. Nevertheless, overall, everyone remains optimistic, and there is no critical problem with adopting the 18 sanctions package. And regarding lowering the oil price cap from 60 to 45, as of now, the majority are in favor. So this proposal is on the table. It is included in the current draft of the sanctions package. A number of countries are against lowering it, just 3 countries, and it's not too hard to guess which ones they are: Greece, Malta, and Cyprus. 3 countries that are in one way or another connected with the fleet, with shipping, including the transportation of Russian oil. Of course, now with the price cap set at $60 per barrel and the actual market price being lower, it turns out that their fleet, which overall, and this is a good thing, respects the price cap rules, is currently transporting a lot of Russian oil and they are making money from it. As soon as you lower the price cap, everything immediately shifts back into the gray zone. And their fleet, being from EU countries, they won't start transporting Russian oil again in violation of the price cap. So right now they are making money, but as soon as the price cap is lowered, they stop earning. But contrary to many pessimistic signals, the price cap is not only still on the table, but even has such a convincing majority in favor. Moreover, even the Americans' position is becoming more favorable toward lowering the price cap. Again, we've been seeing for some time now, for several months, that the actual market price is less than $60 per barrel. So I would say that, well, maybe I'm an optimist, but I think we will definitely have a sanctions package approved next week, and it will include a reduction in the oil price cap.
North Korea is all in on its alliance with Russia, sending weapons, money and now possibly more soldiers. As Pyongyang opens its doors to tourists, it may also be quietly preparing to ship new troops to Ukraine's front lines. Why is the Hermit Kingdom so eager to bleed for Putin, and what does it stand to gain from this deadly partnership?
I want to live in a land of dreams.
Hinting at a luxurious seaside vacation, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, accompanied by his daughter, inspects the new resort in Onsan Kalma. The area is known for its picturesque landscapes and a nearby missile testing range.
Dream.
Now beach umbrellas are waiting for tourists, mostly from China and Russia. The latter are especially welcome.
This is an element precisely of the destruction, the isolation surrounding North Korea. But despite the fact that Putin's regime itself is in semi-isolation. Nevertheless, for Kim Jong-un, this is still an important move for demonstration.
Another demonstration of love and loyalty was a concert in Pyongyang marking the anniversary of the signing of the alliance treaty with Russia. Everyone is crying.
The brave and courageous heroes of Russia will forever remain deeply embedded in our hearts and cherished memories. Until the very end of time.
Supposedly, even Kim Jong-un mourned over the coffins of his soldiers who died in Kursk. However, while the media reports losses in the thousands, only a few of the dead were shown.
Strengthening his personal influence and capabilities and his cult, creating his own narrative, glorifying the struggle against American imperialists on Russian territory, defending an ally, providing help as a completely natural response and expecting such help in return if needed.
Although such help is unlikely, as clearly demonstrated by the Iranian case, when Russia showed only exceptional concern during the bombings of its ally, and North Korea will definitely take this into account, but at the same time, it won't reduce its cooperation for now unless it means clinging to its own nuclear weapons with everything it has.
This can only affect the terms of barter, so to speak. So what will Kim ask for in exchange for his continued support? We understand that right now the Russian Federation wants to use North Korean workers at its industrial sites. Russia wants to set up Shahed drone production on North Korean territory.
And generally to receive military products from them. According to open sources, about 200 North Korean defense industry enterprises are currently working on Russian orders. And the DPRK directly benefits from this, as it receives not only money for the supplies, but also improves its own defense industry.
The Russian Federation continues to transfer weapons technologies there, and of course training. In fact, we can say that, for example, the first Pantsir S-1 systems have already appeared in Pyongyang.
At the same time, the Russians are modernizing North Korean developments as well, such as the Kim Jong-il's the KN-23 ballistic missiles, while their soldiers are gaining combat experience. Meanwhile, the number of North Koreans in Russia is increasing as they are being brought in as workers. There are rumors about the possible dispatch of a new batch of cannon fodder from Kim.
A similar contingent of 10 to 12,000 could be sent. This could mean the deployment of approximately 30,000 military personnel. But here is the key point. The issue of sending a new batch of cannon fodder lies in a somewhat broader geopolitical context, because Beijing and all of China are the guarantors of North Korea's existence.
And they can influence the numbers. Currently, the only official deployment is the sending of 1,000 sappers and 5,000 engineers to Kursk for reconstruction. This is the result of 2 trips by Shoigu to Pyongyang in June. Such regularity of visits indicates the Kremlin's heightened interest in Kim's assistance, especially against the backdrop of the same embarrassment with their ally Iran.
Russia is now trying in its information sources, in some of its events and in information, generally in conversations and among experts, to say that its most loyal friend is North Korea, which was not afraid to fully get involved in Russia's war at all levels.
This is evidenced by the scale of assistance provided to the Russians.
As of 2025, North Korea has already sent 21,000 various containers filled with weapons. The total amount per year that North Korea supplies is over 3 million units of ammunition and rocket weaponry.
And in addition to that, there is also weaponry in the form of self-propelled artillery units, Koksan and the M1991 multiple launch rocket systems. The latter were first spotted at the front in April, and there are already confirmed cases of such systems being destroyed by Ukrainian defense forces. Ultimately, without the alliance of the two dictators, Putin and Kim, it would be much harder for Russia to wage this war. And this cooperation makes the situation dangerous not only in Ukraine, but throughout all of Southeast Asia. Anna Brikova, We Are Ukraine, United News Marathon.
That's all for today on Ukraine Today. Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. Become a sponsor if you want to help us keep going and telling the truth. Stay strong, stay informed, stay with Ukraine. Bye bye, see you soon.